Across history, entire wars often turned on just a few brutal days. Battles where armies clashed at unimaginable scale, where decisions, mistakes, and desperation changed nations forever. Today, we look at 10 of the deadliest battles ever fought. Events remembered not only for loss of life, but for how decisively they shaped the world that followed. This list looks at large, historically recognized battles across different eras. Each one caused massive casualties. Each one influenced politics, territory, or the direction of a war. Numbers from the distant past can be uncertain, but historians generally agree that these battles rank among the most devastating in human history. We will move from number 10 to number 1, focusing on context, human cost, and lasting impact. Number 10, the Battle of Borodino, 1812. The Battle of Borodino took place during Napoleon's invasion of Russia. In September 1812, French and Russian forces faced each other near Moscow. It became one of the bloodiest single days in the Napoleonic Wars. Tens of thousands of soldiers on both sides were killed or wounded within hours. The fighting was intense and often at close range. No clear tactical winner emerged, but Russia refused to collapse. Napoleon reached Moscow soon after, only to face supply problems and a brutal retreat. Borodino showed that even a powerful army could bleed to a standstill, and it set the stage for disasters still to come. Number 9. The Battle of the Somme, 1916. The Somme was one of the defining battles of World War I. It began in July 1916 as a British and French attempt to break German defenses. Industrial warfare dominated the battlefield. Artillery bombardments, machine guns, trenches, and mud shaped every moment. Casualties were enormous on both sides. The first day alone became one of the deadliest in British military history. The battle dragged on for months, with only small territorial gains achieved. It revealed how modern weapons had outpaced traditional strategy, and it forced military leaders to rethink how wars could be fought at all. Number 8. The Battle of Stalingrad, 1942 to 1943. Stalingrad was the turning point of World War II. German and Soviet forces fought street by street through a ruined city. Civilians suffered alongside soldiers as winter closed in. Supplies ran low, morale cracked, and casualties mounted to extreme levels. Entire units disappeared in the fighting. The eventual Soviet encirclement trapped a huge German army. When it surrendered, the psychological and strategic blow was enormous. Stalingrad did not just stop an advance. It marked the beginning of a long push in the opposite direction. Number 7. The Battle of Passchendaele, 1917. Also known as the Third Battle of Ypres, Passchendaele symbolized the grim reality of trench warfare. Rain turned the battlefield into deep mud. Soldiers struggled to move, fight, or even survive in the sinking ground. Months of combat produced extremely high casualties. Gains were measured in meters rather than miles. The suffering became a powerful image of World War I's human cost. Debates continue about whether the offensive was necessary or avoidable. What remains clear is the scale of loss and how it shaped attitudes toward war in the years that followed. Number 6. The Battle of Leipzig, 1813. Often called the Battle of the Nations. The Battle of Leipzig occurred during the later phase of the Napoleonic Wars. Coalition forces from several European powers faced Napoleon's army in central Germany. It was one of the largest battles ever fought in Europe before the 20th century. Fighting continued for several days, with heavy casualties across all armies. Leipzig ended with a decisive defeat for Napoleon. It forced his retreat and weakened his empire beyond recovery. The outcome reshaped European politics, and it prepared the way for Napoleon's eventual fall, while showing how destructive large alliances could become. Number 5. The Battle of Okinawa, 1945. Okinawa was one of the final major battles of World War II. Allied and Japanese forces fought fiercely over the island in the Pacific. The fighting lasted for weeks and resulted in very high military and civilian casualties. Terrain, weather, and fortified positions made every advance costly. Kamikaze attacks added another deadly element to the campaign. Okinawa demonstrated how intense a potential invasion of mainland Japan might be. This reality influenced later strategic decisions, and it showed how the end of a war can sometimes be its most devastating stage. Number 4. The Battle of the Somme's eastern counterpart, the Brusilov Offensive, 1916. While not always remembered as a single battle, many historians treat it as one continuous campaign. The Russian Empire launched a massive offensive against Austro-Hungarian forces. Initial surprise led to large breakthroughs and heavy enemy losses. However, the success came at a severe cost to Russia as well. Millions were killed, wounded, or captured across months of fighting. The offensive weakened Austria-Hungary permanently, but it also exhausted Russia's strength. This contributed to instability back home and pressures that soon changed Russia forever. Number 3. The Battle of Berlin, 1945. The final major battle in Europe during World War II was brutal and decisive. Soviet forces encircled and advanced into the German capital. Urban combat destroyed large sections of the city. Civilian suffering was extreme, and casualties across both sides were very high. German resistance was fierce, but ultimately collapsed. The fall of Berlin marked the clear end of Nazi Germany. It closed one of the darkest chapters in modern history, and it reminded the world of the immense price paid before peace could return. Number 2. The Battle of Leningrad, often called the Siege, 1941 to 1944. Although it is technically a siege rather than a standard battle, its scale makes it unavoidable in any discussion of deadly conflicts. German and Allied forces surrounded the Soviet city for years. Starvation, bombing, and disease caused catastrophic civilian and military losses. Supplies had to cross dangerous routes just to keep people alive. The suffering endured by those inside the city is almost impossible to imagine. Yet the city did not surrender. When the siege finally ended, the cost was staggering, and it stood as one of the most tragic and determined struggles of the war. Number 1. The Battle of Stalingrad's eastern predecessor, the Battle of the Eastern Front as a whole. When historians discuss the deadliest fighting ever recorded, Many point to the sustained clashes across the Eastern Front in World War II. Within that, particular battles such as Kursk, Moscow, and Stalingrad each produced massive losses. Kursk alone became one of the largest tank engagements in history. Across these battles, millions of soldiers and civilians died. Entire regions were destroyed. While exact rankings can vary, this front is widely seen as the most lethal theater of war ever fought. And it shaped not only the outcome of World War II, but the balance of global power that followed. These battles remind us how fragile human life becomes in times of conflict. They show how strategy, technology, leadership, and desperation can collide with overwhelming force. Behind every statistic were individual lives, families, and futures cut short. Remembering these events is not about glorifying war. It is about understanding its consequences and recognizing why peace, when possible, is always worth protecting.